Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this regularly scheduled meeting of the Lynn Haven City Commission meeting for March 26, 2019. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin with our invocation, and I've asked Commissioner Rodney Friend if he would please lead us in the invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's pray. Father, we just thank and we praise you, God, for this opportunity to assemble together. Lord, we recognize that this is a day that you've made, Lord, and regardless of circumstances and stances, God, we know that none of this takes you by surprise, Lord, and we just rejoice and be glad in this day. Father, I just thank you and praise you for the men and women who've given all in order for us to have the freedoms to assemble as this city and do the work of the residents of this city. Lord, I just pray right now that you'll give us wisdom, guidance, and direction, God, as we go about the city's business today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. I have two items that I would like to get to before I go to item number 3, the mayor's report. First of all, I need a motion to excuse Commissioner Barnes from his absence for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Mayor, I'm going to make a second for discussion.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second, and is there any discussion?
Mayor, if I may ask, we got an email from Antonius. Did it say he was going to miss the rest of the meetings, or just the meetings in March? Or could somebody clarify exactly what the email said?
The email was not, I did not receive the email. The city manager received the email, and I'll defer to her.
Yes, he said he would miss all of the meetings up until the last meeting, which will be the second from the last meeting, April 9th, I think he'll be back.
So in that case, he did ask to be excused. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Are there any other comments or discussion? Is there any public discussion? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Rich Walker, 1106. According to the planning management and all exits, the excuses for either an employee or elected officials have to be for a reason. I do not see any reason given here, and I don't understand that. And nobody's even asked what is the reason. Normally, in the past, you've excused people, and it's because somebody had a family thing or something like that. But in this case, in the last meeting, we have not, according to the rules, we have not heard a reason.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other discussion?
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
He did send me an email, and that was last week, that he would be traveling today.
Is there any other discussion? Yes, sir.
My name is Glenn McGee. I'm at 1601 Maryland. Is unexcused, my question is is unexcused absences at the commission meeting, is that a violation of the commissioner's oath?
It is not a violation of an oath. I'll defer to attorney if I say this incorrectly, but our charter does state that if a commissioner or mayor misses 3 meetings in sequence without being excused, that is cause for removal. But again, removal requires a majority vote of the commission. And I would also advise that we are within 2 weeks of Commissioner Barnes, or 2 meetings of Commissioner Barnes' term ending. And I won't comment further than that. But
You might consider including that in the oath in the future.
Well, those are all statutory things that I don't really have concern or control over. They have to be done by referendum. Am I not correct, City Attorney?
Generally speaking, Mayor, you are correct as far as what is in the ordinance and the other items you addressed, including the fact that we are coming to a conclusion of Commissioner Barnes' term, and there'll be somebody else in his seat shortly. I think I would advise the city that it would be you would incur a large cost that I don't know that you would reap the reward in this matter.
The mayor stated that it would be a violation of statute to amend the oath. Is that accurate?
No, that's not what I said. I said it would be against our charter. I'm sorry, I'm saying the wrong thing. Our charter states that after missing 3 meetings in a row that a commissioner could be removed, not that they have to be. And I didn't say anything about a statute.
Again, my recommendation is that you guys beef up the oath, because you need a little bit of moral leverage over people who are not fulfilling their commitment to the citizens of this
Thank you for your
city.
comments, sir. I appreciate that very much. Anyone else? Mrs. Walker?
Janet Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Mr. Barnes, our fiscal year started in October. Mr. Barnes was late for October 23rd meeting. He was excused for the November 13th meeting. He did not show up at the December 11th meeting. He was late for the February 12th meeting. He was excused for the February 26th meeting. He was not excused for the 19th meeting, and you may be excusing him tonight. He costs the citizens of Lynn Haven $3,200 a month. $2,000 for health insurance and $1,200 for his wages. That's $3,200 a month. I think it's outrageous that he's being able to get away with this, and I don't think it's fair to the citizens of Lynn Haven who pay their money to have some coverage by their commissioners for this amount of money. It's ridiculous.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Is there anyone else from the board who has further comments? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll? There was a motion to excuse and a second.
Commissioner Friend,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
No.
Commissioner Tender,
No.
Mayor Anderson.
No, and so the absence is non-excused. And I would follow up with that we have had a great deal of negative things in the city recently, and I would like to see Lynn Haven return to its place that it has held for many, many months of positivity and what we're doing positively. And so since we're so close to the end of Commissioner Barnes's term, it's not a matter that I'm unconcerned or don't realize the amount of money that it has cost the city, but I just prefer to move on since we're so close and try to move on with something positive. If we were looking at 2 more years, then I would feel differently. So I just wanted to address that I do share those concerns of fiscal responsibility. At this time, I'd like to move on, and instead of doing the mayor's report as item number 3, because of the some legal business tonight regarding our city manager's employment with the city, I would like for the attorney's report to be first. So if I could have a motion just to change the agenda, it will stay in the same order, except that I would just move the attorney's report to a position before the mayor's report.
So
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any disagreement or discussion? Is there any from the public? Thank you. Adam Albritton is our city legal consultant. If you would please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Since our meeting last week, I, along with David Marcy, the city's labor law attorney that we use from time to time, I, along with David Marcy, the city of Lynn Haven's employment and labor law attorney that we use from time to time, have been in discussions with Mr. White's counsel pertaining to a resignation and separation agreement. As of this afternoon, I received from Mr. White's counsel a contingent resignation of employment contingent upon the approval of the separation agreement. The separation agreement was drafted in conjunction with Mr. Marcy, again, the City of Lynn Haven's labor law expert. This agreement, as you will see, outlines a number of different issues, but ultimately, one of the main benefits for the city agreeing to this is the insulation of future suit. While I certainly cannot ever say that the city of Lynn Haven would be insulated from any and all things on any matter, this certainly would protect the city at the utmost and most possibilities. That said, if the commission has any questions of me, I will do my best to answer. I would ask that the commission keep in mind that for attorney-client privilege to attach, that there are certain things that I cannot discuss in public, because if the public hears it, then there is a breach in the attorney-client privilege.
And Mr. Albritton, could you clarify that you're representing the commission and the city and not Mr. White is the attorney privilege?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, that is correct.
Thank
Mr.
you.
White is represented in this case by Waylon Graham.
Thank you. So at this point, I'm not asking for a motion yet. I'm asking if there are any questions or discussion, and then we can move forward with the motion to approve. Is there any discussion from the board? Then is there a motion for approval of this employee separation agreement and general lease?
So moved.
Second.
So there's been a motion and a second. Now, is there any question or discussion about this from any member of the board? Is there any from the public?
Mayor, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
I was a little
Commissioner
slow.
Friend. Okay, go
That's
ahead.
fine. It kind of goes along with this. Maybe the city attorney will address it, but if the motion passes, if the motion passes, I would just recommend that we go out for RFQ for a new city manager as soon as possible.
Could we make that a separate motion, or can it be part of this motion?
I think we should address one issue at a time just to make it
Yes.
simpler.
Yeah, thank you. Duly noted.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any other discussion from the board? Okay, there's been a motion and a second to accept this separation agreement. Is there any comment from the public? Anyone like to say anything? Yes, Mr. Walker, go ahead.
I don't want you to, Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan, I don't want you to breach any confidentiality, but in that agreement, is there anything about salary and everything, or separation salary that we are going to give him as he resigns? According to what I remember, resigning, he gets nothing. But if he doesn't resign and we have to do this, he gets a certain amount of money. Is there anything in the agreement that we are not paying his salary and his medical?
I'll defer to the attorney for that.
Thank you.
In answer to your question, if you remember, that Mr. White has been suspended with pay up until this point, and we'll see what action occurs here. So the agreement contemplates that, as he is normally paid. The agreement contemplates items that have accrued, meaning that he has an earned benefit in, and that is the substantial amount of this agreement, is what is earned. Now, with that being said, I said substantial. There is an item or two that Mr. White receives. For the agreement to be binding, he would have to receive something. I'm sorry?
I said, it leaves it open, that substantial amount. There's going to be somebody that's
Can you clarify what the amounts are? Yeah. I've asked the attorney to clarify the exact amounts, and he said he could do that, so, okay. I'm aware, but I wasn't sure if I could share.
Accrued salary in the amount of $5,691.20. Employees' personal time off in the amount of $21,342. Sick leave in the amount of $5,122.08. Pro rata share of the employee's car allowance in the amount of $375. Pro rata portion of the employee's health insurance, $336.20. Pro rata portion of the employee's cell phone allowance, $37.50. Reimbursement for damage caused to personal ATVs during and after the storm, $14,000.46.
And so,
The reason I recommend that the city accept this is because, again, a large number of these items are accrued benefits that Mr. White would receive no matter what action the board takes. By accepting this agreement, at least we have an agreement in place that would insulate the board from most future possible legal actions.
did you refer to other employees in the handbook to let them know that other employees also receive those same?
Yes, this is Mr. White and is no different than any of the other employees. Once an accrued benefit occurs, it's already earned. So it does not matter the nature of the termination thereafter, whether it's willful or in violation of some rule, law, or policy of the city of Lynn Haven. It is earned. That's the nature of accrued. Again, I'm not saying that all items in here are accrued, but I'm telling you that the vast majority of the items are accrued benefits.
Are there other comments from the public? Yes, Mrs. Walker.
Janet Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Will we ever have the ability to receive or request a full copy of that agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Glenn McGee. In terms of David Marcy's commenting on the settlement agreement, what was his rationale for including the ATV payment? What was going on here?
Again, I've addressed this agreement at this point. I think I've addressed it to the full extent that I can. I've addressed each item in here and explained why they were in here.
But there's nothing accrued about, is that his personal vehicle or is that a city vehicle?
The ATV was his personal vehicle, which he used for the benefit of the city during and after the immediate aftermath of the city when travel was difficult at best.
So this is,
Yes, it was, and I'm not aware of the exact nature of the ATV, but I believe that the purpose of using the ATV was because it could climb over and around water, debris, etc.
okay, now this is for repairs to the vehicle?
That is correct.
Are there any other comments from the public? I believe there are none. Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Friend,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, so the employee separation agreement and general release concerning Mr. White's employment is approved, and the resignation then is in effect.
Correct, Mayor. I will need to get your signature on the separation agreement, but effective now, Mr. White is no longer a part of the city.
Do you have that copy with you?
We have multiple copies.
Okay, may I call a 5-minute recess, please? And we'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you. If I could call the meeting back to order at this time, did everyone have a chance to get back to where they were? Okay, thank you. Everybody ready? Thank you. Okay, at this time now, I would like to return to item number 3, which is the mayor's report. And I think I gave the media time to get back. I'm sorry I didn't take.
Mayor, one other issue was the
Yes.
RFQ.
I was going to that.
I apologize for that.
Go ahead. That's okay.
If the board wishes to consider, I would ask an RFQ for the city manager position. I would ask that that the board authorize the city manager and I, or the acting city manager and I, develop the RFQ and bring it back at the next commission meeting for review and comment from this commission.
Okay, and also to decide if it's RFQ, RFP, or all that to bring before us.
We would bring a proposal and obviously take direction from this board.
Okay, is there a motion?
So move.
Just one? Okay. There's been a motion and a second that the city attorney and our acting city manager, Ms. Gaynor, would get together and come up with the RFQ or RFP to begin to seek applications for a permanent city manager. So is there any discussion from the board? Any from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, so we'll look for that at the next regularly scheduled meeting. Moving on to the mayor's report. I don't normally talk about family members, and he'll probably be angry with me for doing it, but I'm very happy to see my brother here this evening, Dr. Roy Deal. He's been in South Florida. He had to evacuate because his hospital in Moral Coast Behavioral was destroyed during the storm. and he treats exclusively active duty and active duty and veterans of the wars, and has a marvelous program for PTSD, which he offers to these active duty members that come from all over the world. And so he's had to be gone for almost 6 months from family and from his home, because he took all those patients with him to Clearwater to a hospital there and stayed with them for all this time. So I just want to tell you how glad we are to have you back, and to have mental health care is something that we desperately need here. And he is a psychiatrist and a neurologist and provides great care. So happy to have you back.
Thank you, Margot. And we'll have Eagle Coast Behavioral Health back up and running about the 9th of April.
That's awesome news. Thank you. And then moving on, today I've traveled to Tallahassee and back for a FEMA meeting. This was to meet with the director from Florida, Director Moskovitz, who was recently appointed by Governor DeSantis, and he asked for a meeting with all the mayors, and then he also had other officials there. We discussed various aspects of FEMA reimbursement and tried to find ideas of how to make that happen more quickly. I can say I was not all that pleased with the meeting, but I went. So that's what I'll say about that. Moving on, I also wanted to make just a very brief statement and then not dwell upon it any further, but I want you to know that my silence regarding the issues concerning the employment of the city manager and the termination have been in deference to ongoing investigations by the police department and also by the city, and do not reflect my strong concerns about what happened. So please do not equate silence with lack of concern and all the other things that go with that. So that's really all I have to say. I'm ready for Lynn Haven to move forward, and hopefully we'll see good headlines and good news coming about our city, because after all, that's what we're used to seeing, right? Moving on to item number 4, the Commissioner's Report. I'll start with Commissioner Tender.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to bring this up again, the Colorado Avenue project. I'm really desperately trying to find out when that project is going to start. And since you said earlier nothing is on hold, or were you speaking of everything, or just CRA?
And I have good information about that, and then I'll defer to our acting city manager as well.
Awesome.
I did attend the construction meeting. It's every Monday because of Phoenix Construction and Panhandle Engineering and others in this area that are involved with our half-cent sales tax projects. I try to be there every Monday just to listen and be informed. And it was agreed upon that that is a crucial area, and they're going to move forward with that, and I'll let city manager add any comments she might have.
Absolutely. After we looked into it, we think that that is very crucial to our residents. And so we are going to move forward with that. I've met with the Public Works Director today, and within a matter of a couple of days, once I sign off on everything, it's going to get done. That's important to our residents, and so we want it to be important to us as well.
Well, thank you very much for making that happen, because these people have been drowning over there.
Yes,
Every time it rains, it's a horrible situation. And I've met with the whole block on a few occasions, and I'm so glad to hear that that's happening. And the only other thing that I have today in my report, and don't take this personally, as a result, I'm not making a motion on this, but as a result of Commissioner Russell's direct involvement with the recent city manager's arrest, I've been asked by numerous residents to ask Commissioner Russell to step down as commissioner. And that is all I have. And that was not a motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving along, thank you, Commissioner Tender. Moving along, Commissioner Russell.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I was gonna say no report, but you know what I mean, when somebody says something, I sometimes can't keep my mouth shut. I still contend that I did exactly what I should have done to protect a friend, and anybody that wants to talk to me directly, I'll be glad to talk to you. Anybody that knows me, knows who I am, knows my character, and knows I'm not gonna back away. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Friend.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate you taking a personal note, because I have one as well, so I'll just follow your lead. But today, 31 years ago, I got to marry my best friend, so I wanted to wish my beautiful wife a happy anniversary today, 31 years. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I sent flowers, even 31 years. But
Good job.
what are you gonna do? Also, the only other thing I'd like to add is I did meet with acting city manager, Ms. Gaynor, and I have complete confidence the city is in good hands during the interim as city manager, and I'm looking forward to working with her in the next few few weeks. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to our acting city manager's report. Ms. Vicki Gaynor.
Thank you, Mayor. There have been several meetings this week with a couple of our officials. Of course, all the commissioners I met with. I met with Jay Moody and the city attorney and many of the directors just to go over projects and try to really get up to date speed of things that I know about and things that they know about. We come together and make those things work. Again, we have to be patient with each other because of the fact that we are working in some blind areas that the projects may have gone forward. And so it's been some really good meetings. We had a great meeting, our staff meeting, and we covered a couple of things. And one of those things is that we decided as a staff, and instead of charging the citizen of Lynn Haven for the splash pad, that this splash pad is free to all to attend and have fun. We put it there for that reason, and we're not going to change that. So we say Lynn Haven residents, Bay County residents, come out and have fun. So, one of the other things that we talked about too was our Saturday reward schedule. That was really meant to try to catch up on a lot of work, to meet the needs of the contractors and people coming in that, standing in a long line. Those lines have slowed down a lot. And so we are going to go on and go back to our regular scheduled work day, which is 7:30 to 4:30, and then Saturdays will cease. We will still have someone on duty for our animal shelter, but we will go back to the 7:30 to 4:30. And this way, Bobby's guys who have to work during the week can actually attend to the needs of the citizens instead of having to give them that day off and then be here Saturday. They can actually attend to some of those calls that we get from you all, that we can go out and meet those needs. So that's going to be 7:30 to 4:30, and we will cease the Saturday work day. One of the other things is, I think Commissioner Russell asked me about this, and I just had a meeting today with Andrew Rell. And one of the things that we're doing is we're trying to get people in place. I know many of you know at the Customer Service Center, there are probably 30 people that are there. And so those facilities, those temp facilities will be coming in very soon. At the end of this month, we'll have the temp facility. End of next month, we'll have the temp facilities coming in place. Those will be set up for PD and its city administration. And then hopefully by the middle of April, middle of May, we will be able to move into those facilities so that we can spread out a little bit and actually meet the needs of each other and citizens, because right now we are in a tight spot, but it's going to be great. Let's see what else we have here. I think that was, those were the major things that I wanted to share with you today. Oh, and don't forget the spring concert series. It starts actually April 12th. And majority of them are Friday night, but there are one or two that may be Thursday night. But don't forget to come out and enjoy that.
Thank you. And we've already had our attorney's report. And at this point in time, we've moved to item number 7. Which is public commentary. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on anything that you would like. Remember, if you want to comment on one of the items on the agenda tonight, that I do give opportunity on each item for people to comment. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission. Ms. Gaynor, you sound very good. I'm Bob Schultz. I live at 509 Pennsylvania Avenue. I'm also candidate for seat 1, and so you all know me. My question is, when is the next monthly cleanup day?
That will be Saturday, April the 13th.
Oh,
and there's going to be a large number of people there because we have, I believe, 3 churches that are coming to help us, and so we should get a lot of work done.
Do you have any idea where we might meet down at the park?
I know that we were speaking of the meeting place being at Lynn Haven at the new cafeteria, right? Yes. On the corner
okay.
there? Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Yes, from the back.
Brad Young, 210 Lakeview Terrace. On March 5th, we had the Homeowner Association annual meeting, and at that meeting, I had asked Ben Jenke to speak on the matter of stormwater runoff and how to handle it. He spoke not as a City of Lynn Haven employee, but as a knowledgeable citizen of the town. He had previously worked for the Florida DEP. He had actually approved the permit for our subdivision. He gave one heck of a good presentation. I'd like to thank him for that.
It's very kind of you, and he is such an asset to the city, and we appreciate all that he does. Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Mr. Robitaille, if you'd like to stay in place, sir, you may. I know I can hear you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. And Main Avenue and 390, we have the 21st wonder of the world being constructed. That, we have a hole there. It's got to be 50, 60 feet deep, filling up with water. But consistent with the outrage that the highway department is doing to Lynn Haven, they're put a fence up around that pit. And I'm here to say, I'll be the first to say, whose fault is it when a child dies, drowning, playing? I saw a couple of children playing in there. Who is it we call? Who is in charge of the fence? And they're gonna say, be it's on its way. We can call any fence company here in Lynn Haven, they'll put one up. Please, whoever is responsible for making that call, make that call to whoever is responsible on the other end. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to speak? Mr. Walker?
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. At the last meeting, we were discussing budgets and money, and you were going out with a look-see for getting two bonds, one for 15 and one for 20. I just want, and I pointed out the fact that we were in debt already, and we still owe for the FEMA, et cetera, and our debt was rising up. But I just wanted to make you aware of the state of Florida, what they're considering doing, and that is changing the mobility thing to a tax. That's a tax on the citizens. Okay, and also we have a note from Gulf Power saying that $340 some odd million in the cost of bringing the electricity into our area is going to be paid for by the citizens. That's interesting. So we got that on our back. It's interesting, Gulf Power rents from the city the property to put its poles, then charges the citizens by tax, which they call a charge, on that and passes it on to the citizens. The original property that was used for the poles and the lines was ours. We gave it to the city in 1911, and now we're being charged taxes through the Gulf Power. And now they're going to hit us with $340 some odd million, and with the tax on the mobility pay, and with owing FEMA, and now we're looking at the bonds. The citizens are going to be biting a big one. I just wanted you to be aware of what's happening outside of our little disaster area.
You didn't hear me when I said earlier I've been in Tallahassee all day. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Is there anyone else who'd like to comment tonight on anything? Okay, I believe that ends the public. I didn't miss anyone, right? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda, that's item number 8, the minutes for the March 19th regular meeting. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion or corrections to those minutes from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, minutes stand approved. Item number 9, the approval of the 2019 July 4th parade route. Can't believe we're doing that already. It's moving right along, isn't it? Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Mayor, that's actually in the consent agenda, isn't it?
It certainly is. I should have done that together, but since we already did number 8, I guess I'll have to do it separately. I apologize.
No problem. Second.
A little tired today, I apologize. So we've had a motion and a second for the approval of the 2019 July 4th parade route. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead.
I'm a little behind the times. Are we doing the same as last year, down 5th
Yes,
and
ma'am.
up Florida? Thank you.
For the 4th of July parade.
4th of July. Oh, and 77.
Oh, okay. The same as it's been. Okay.
So it will be on Highway 77 as it always has been. Okay.
Thank you.
If we agree. Is there any discussion from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, so the 4th of July parade route will remain the same, coming down 5th Street and onto 77. Old business, the discussion, item number 10, discussion and approval to purchase a John Deere 50G excavator for the city's cleanup efforts. And I believe we have a staff report on that from Bobby Baker. Thank you. If you remember, we tabled this from the last meeting for more information for the commission and the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. This was a request to purchase a mini excavator. One of the problems that we're running into is our equipment's too large for a lot of these areas that we're dealing with. We have a lot of utility easements, drainage easements, and no equipment to actually get in there and get this cleaned up. And not only clean it up, it'll be used by the water and sewer department to get in there to repair their water mains and sewer mains, because their equipment's too large to get these easements also. And with the storm, the infrastructure's been torn up in these areas, and we just need it to help clean up the city and get access to those utilities.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Baker from the commission?
Yes, Mayor. If I may.
Oh, yes, go ahead, I'm sorry.
What is the cost of this excavator?
It's right at $60,000. I would like to make a note that in the original budget, we had $40,000 for a small tractor that we never purchased.
Okay.
So this would be a little above and beyond what was originally budgeted.
Okay. Are there other questions? Go ahead, I'm sorry, Commissioner Tender.
No, I said thank you.
Okay, anyone else from the board?
Mayor, I just.
Go ahead, please.
I've had a concern about spending money lately, but I just wanted to say that I reached out to Bobby and had a long discussion with him about what the use of this thing, and he was very adamant that we needed it for storm-related damage and cleaning ditches and stuff like that. So, I'm comfortable with what Bobby's offering.
Thank you. Commissioner Friend, did you have anything? No. Okay. All right, thank you. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second. Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from the public or questions from the public? Any further discussion from the board? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Friend,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, so it stands approved and can go forward and conquer with the excavator. Item number 11 is discussion and possible action regarding the First Amendment to the loan agreement. And this loan agreement is the one, if you remember, when we decided to go forward and borrow against our half-cent sales tax so that we could do all the paving in one fell swoop while interest rates were low. And if you remember, we paved 23 miles of road and only to have it unrolled by the hurricane, but we did pave 23 miles of road with the surtax and of course the infrastructure with it. So I will defer to our city attorney to talk about this particular item, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Mayor. This First Amendment to Loan Agreement document was generated at the request of former city manager. This document was at his request. I went to our bond counsel to discuss this issue. Bond counsel ultimately generated this document. This is what this document represents is in 2018, the city entered into a loan agreement with Hancock Bank, which was conditioned upon, in part, the construction of various roads and adjacent infrastructure projects. The thought behind amending the agreement is that, along with the referendum and everything else involved with it, is that could you expand the use of this tax money from just various roads and adjacent infrastructure to such capital improvements constituting infrastructure as established by resolution of the City Commission of the City of Lynn Haven. Bond counsel believes that this is possible, ultimately, which would expand the use of the half-cent tax, if the commission so desired to take it that route.
Thank you. Is there a motion or a second for this item?
So moved.
Is there a second? And if you want to discuss it, that's fine. There's not a second at this point.
Mayor, if I may.
And I had a comment I wanted to make on it if there wasn't going to be, but I'll defer to you if you like.
My only thing was that, my understanding from this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Albritton, is all this does is free us up to use the money if necessary. It still has to come before the commission to decide if the money is going to be spent on something other than roads and infrastructure, correct?
That would be correct, Commissioner, and in addition, Hancock Whitney Bank would also have to approve of the amendment, but the order of process would be first to see if the city was interested in doing that before going to Hancock Whitney Bank. It does not obligate the city to spend anything.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
And since there's not been a second for this, it's not even really necessary for me to make a comment, but I wanted to make it because I can't talk to any of you unless we're sitting at this table, and I wanted to sort of throw something out there for possible consideration or discussion. As mayor, and I was one of the people who went before the county commission and supported them as they went forward with this referendum for the half-cent sales tax. If you don't remember the process, the cities receive the percentage of this sales tax money as it comes in based on the size of the city. So Lynn Haven is the second largest city in the county, and so we do get a considerable amount of that. I'm adamantly opposed to changing the parameters for using this money for anything except for what it was originally intended, which is paving and infrastructure. As much as it would be, wonderful to have extra funds for vertical buildings and that kind of thing, I just think that we have to stay with, the purity of that. So I just wanted to put that out there. But then the second part, and this is something maybe we could add to the agenda for discussion next time, but I have never liked the way that we are paying this back. The way it was set up by previous city manager, actually, when it was first set up. It's almost like a 30-year mortgage on a house. And so we're paying back somewhere in the neighborhood of $238,000 every 6 months, and we're getting a sizable amount every month. So I would like to see the commission consider going to something more like a sweep account, so that if the state sends us $190,000 this month, then we don't hold that in the city for funds because we're not going to use it for anything else. That we should just sweep it out, put it on that debt, and pay that debt down and get it gone. So that's my thoughts on it, and I would hope that maybe someone would entertain a motion to place that on next meeting's agenda for a full discussion and give you time to look at it and think about it. So it just seems to me that there's no need for us to hold that money in the city account and pay interest in a large amount to the bank and only make a payment every 6 months of a very small amount. So that's my thought.
So Mayor, if I may, we agree. So I just wanted to point that out. If you could just make sure it's in the minutes. I'm sorry, I'm trying to. I appreciate you. But with that, I would like to say that I don't know that I disagree with anything that you said. So with that, I'd like to make a motion that we put it on the next agenda, that we discuss the payback of the half-cent sales tax.
I'll second that motion.
A motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the board? My day has improved considerably. Is there any discussion from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. And amen. Okay, moving on to new business. And this is also a happy discussion and approval of adding the K-9 unit as a line item to the Lynn Haven Police Department. And is there a motion for discussion and approval?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. And I would just like to add just a couple of things here. At Chief Matthew Reamer's farewell party, I had some, I'm still distributing those campaign funds that I'm giving to various charities. And so I started this with a $500 check to the K-9 unit. But I've been one-upped by our citizen, Matt Marshall, who just came across with $15,000. So we'd like to thank him very much. And so we'll be moving on, but he has donated that to help start this K-9 unit, and we'll be presenting something special to him in a coming meeting, because he also put $25,000 in our hurricane relief account as well. So we want to do something very special for him. So is there any discussion from the board regarding the K-9 unit? There's none. Is there any from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Stands approved. Congratulations, Glen Haven Police Department, on your new K-9 unit, and thank you again to Matt Marshall for your generosity to help. Item number 13, approval to name the Glen Haven Department K-9 unit the Matthew E. Reamer K-9 unit. I think I'm correct when I say Chief Reamer served in the capacity of a fireman and a policeman in the city for 42 years. Isn't that correct, the total? Correct. Yes, I am correct. And is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Any from the public? Okay, Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. So congratulations to Chief Matthew E. Reamer for his new K-9 unit namesake. That's wonderful. Item number 14, the approval to select, purchase, and install a security fence at the Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility, which is an FDEP requirement. And this is something that has really been bothering me, and I know it's bothering others, and it was discussed at staff meeting the other day, because especially now with the park cleaned up and so many children at the splash pad and people going down to the beach, there is no protective fence around that sewer plant. So similar to Mr. Robitaille's concern of the pond, we have the same there. So we need a motion to do this, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion, or would you like information about what this entails? Anyone on the commission?
Mayor, if I may, what is the length of this fence that we're building? And will it come before the commission for a final vote before it's approved?
Mr. Kidwell, can you tell us a little bit about it? And I know they'll have to get bids and what's.
We're replacing the fence that was existing. It does not go all the way around the wastewater treatment plant, which borders the bay. It's basically two sides of the bay, 1,200 feet more or less. I'm going off the top of my head. Two gates along with that.
So we're talking like a 12-foot chain link fence with barbed wire on top?
Originally it was wood privacy fence. Looked better for the neighborhood. We have the opportunity here to make a selection of what we want that fence to look like. So right now it's wide open. We entertain your thoughts.
Because there is FEMA reimbursement because it is considered an emergency, and I believe, if I'm correct, that you had said at the staff meeting it was somewhere around $100,000 to get the really
approximately. That's heavy gauge wire chain link fence with privacy slats, 8 foot. We were thinking black vinyl. They're again a heavy gauge, not the lighter. We can, of course, change that up.
So is there direction from a motion from the commission? Like, what would you, or just some direction from Mr. Kidwell? Would you like him to go forward, or do you have more questions? Or,
if I may, Mayor?
Sure.
I love the idea of the privacy fence, because let's face it, it's not the prettiest thing to look at. So I would really love to see the privacy fence, yes.
And I really like the idea of, since there is FEMA reimbursement involved, of let's do it right. Let's have what we need there to protect the community. And yes, okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so there's a motion and a second. And is there any discussion from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Item number 15, the Rails to Trails update and naming of the first trailhead. This is Commissioner Friend's item.
Thank you, Mayor. As I hope everyone knows, Commissioner Witkoff originally had the vision for Rails to Trails in Glen Haven. And when I came into office in 2011, she asked me and talked to me about it. And of course, I made her a promise that I would continue to work on Rails to Trails. And believe me, she's held me to that. So with the support of the commission, I think we've made some good progress. We still have a lot of work to do. We got some good news a couple of meetings back with the $23,000. But I want to continue to work on it. But at this point, I would like to make a motion that we name the first trailhead after Miss Whitcoff, Commissioner Whitcoff. And I know some of her family's here tonight, and I want to take the opportunity to say thank you so much for coming for tonight as well. But as far as the name is concerned, maybe just Commissioner Francis Whitcoff Way. But I would like to form that in a form of a motion, please.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I might use this opportunity then, Mayor, to say that I'm going to continue to work on Rails to Trails, and also just say that myself, along with some other like-minded individuals, have started the process to form a 501c3. It'll be called Friends of Bay County Trails, so that we can support all of Bay County trail system. And with that, we've got a lot of work to do, and I'll hopefully come before the commission in the future and give you more information on that. But with that, we're also going to ask the family if we can make her an honorary member of that board as well. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any discussion from the public? Ms. Gaynor, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. It stands approved.
And Mayor, I'm sorry, Mayor. I did also forget to mention that now that the commission has approved that, if I'd like to see perhaps, I know we haven't settled on the first phase, and I know we talked about several phases, but at some point maybe we can get a sign made and maybe even do a ribbon cutting in the very near future, just to plan a stake for that.
I think that's great.
Very near future.
I think that's great.
Thank you, Mayor.
Moving on to item number 16. This is the approval to advertise bid RFP 18/19. I'm sorry, what did I do wrong? Come on up. This is Mrs. Whitcoff's son. We're glad to have you here.
Yeah. Donnie Whitcoff, 209 Indiana Avenue. And just real quickly, I really want to say thank you on behalf of. I was going to do that.
It's all good.
Anyway, we have told her that this was going to happen potentially, and just know that she's very happy, and she's just going to be so honored. And we just thank you, Commissioner Friend. Thank you to this whole entire commission, and that's all. Thank you.
And we'll thank you, and we'll get that ribbon cutting and everything set up right away. We'll get that scheduled out there on that trailhead so that she can take part in that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 16, I'm sorry. Approval to advertise bid RFP 18/19-1 for disaster recovery services relating to debris removal. Ms. Gaynor has the report on that.
So Mayor, this is the debris removal. We already have this will be the haulers, if that's one way of putting it. So this is in place just in case we have another Hurricane Michael. Heaven forbid we never have one of those, but we have to have these haulers in place to deploy them once the hurricane or any type of natural disaster comes about. They will not cost us any money until that disaster actually happens. And so this is just approval to finish up the actual RFP, send it to FEMA for approval, and then put it out.
Before hurricane season?
Before hurricane season, yes.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any from the public? Questions? Okay, Ms. Gaynor, if you call the roll.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Item number 17, it stands approved. Item number 17, approval to advertise bid RFP HM-2019-003 for the right-of-way debris removal and stabilization services. Ms. Gaynor.
Again, this is a bid we want to put out. We won't put that bid out right now because we do have Bobby Skies that are out there cleaning up many of the ditches and roadways. But this is a RFP. Once we have gotten it approved and we see we still need help cleaning out those waterways and those ditches, we'll be able to put it out quickly so that we can quickly clean up the cities. So this is something that I wanted to just bring to the commission to let them know that this needs to be done.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Well,
Could we get the second first and then discuss, and we don't?
Sure,
Yeah.
second.
Okay, motion and a second. Now, please go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So this will be something that we're just trying to get in place, but if you should have to do it, it will come back before the commission?
Yes, ma'am. I can bring it back before the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the public or discussion? Ms. Gaynor?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, stands approved. Thank you. And then item number 18 is the approval to review and consider submitted bids to the city for the sale of approximately 20.3 acres of land on Hatcher Drive, part of parcel ID 26485-000-000, and Ben Jenke has the report on this item.
Thank you, Mayor. This property was advertised for sale. It is located at almost at the end of Hatcher Drive. It's part of a 135-acre tract of land that the city still owns in that area. As part of the offer, the potential buyer would be responsible for all closing costs and also a boundary survey and legal description for the property. We received 2 bids for this property, and I attached a summary sheet to the agenda packet for your review. Mr. Finch submitted a trade offer in the amount of $130,000 for this property. That includes $50,000 for fill dirt, $55,000 for a Gradall excavation machine, and also $25,000 in cash. The second offer that was submitted, the second bid was from Nate's Sanitation Service, and that bid price is in the amount of $101,568, and that would be cash at closing.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Mayor, may I ask, what, are we approving the sale? Or are we approving, I'm not exactly sure what we're doing here.
You're approving the acceptance of the bid, is that correct, Mr. Attorney?
At this point, it'd be incumbent upon the commission to accept, or either accept or reject all bids, but accept one bid or reject them. And to move forward, one has to be selected if the city still wishes to sell the land.
Okay.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
I'd like make a motion that we accept the first bid.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
And there's a motion and a second. Are there further questions or discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay,
Or whatever.
Commissioner Tender.
So I want to make sure it's very clear. In accepting Mr. Finch's bid, we're getting some cash, but a lot of trade, things of that nature. But with the second one, they're paying cash. So my concern is, does the city need the $101,000 more than we need trade? Or am I just being, I'd appreciate some
It's a
input.
question.
Mhm.
Is Mr. Finch here? Mr. Finch? Would you like to comment on what your offer entails? Yeah, there he is.
Mayor, if I may, while he's walking up.
You have a question as well?
I just wanted to state,
Okay, go ahead.
I can wait. I was just gonna say, for those of you that don't know what a Gradall is, I mean, it's a tractor or a truck with a front end loader bucket that is used to clean out ditches.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was approached the city, they said that, you know, they wanted some equipment or, you know, whatever. And I said, the property was worth more to me because it adjoins my property. So I was at $130,000 worth of that, and he was at $100,000. And so I'd give my $100,000 to the park and didn't get anything, so I guess that's all good. But that was $100,000 in trade, and I was 30% higher.
Okay. Any questions that any of you have for Mr. Finch? Mr. Friend?
Yeah.
Commissioner Friend, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just maybe for Ben more than Mr. Finch, but, because we got fill dirt, I mean, and we can place a value on the equipment, but for the fill dirt, do we have any? I mean, I know that dirt price has increased significantly before October versus after October, so do we have can we play, I mean, we know it's $50,000 worth of fill dirt, but do we have a cubic yards, do we have anything like that? In other words, it's $50,000 at a particular price?
This is the information that was given to me as part of the bid package.
Mr. Baker, could you tell us a customary, like, what would you pay for that much fill dirt? I mean, is it something you need, or what the price would be on that?
Average fill dirt right now is running, if we pick it up and haul it, it's $1 to $2 a square yard. If a hauler hauls it, it's around $10 a square yard.
Okay.
And I think the original intent was for us to pick it up, but there was never a dollar value per yard.
Okay.
So we just need to verify.
Mr. Finch?
I thought it's $2, they wanted to come pick it up and haul it, or it was $10 to deliver it.
Okay.
Either one.
Okay. Any other questions from the board or the public?
Mayor, if I could just follow
Go
up
ahead, Commissioner Friend.
with Mr. Baker, so we have no problem picking it up, though?
No, and that, I read that it equates to 1,250 truckloads over time.
1,250 truckloads.
Yes.
That's a lot of dirt, and
We use a lot of dirt. But it would take us probably a couple of years to get it all. Because we don't just run trucks every day, all day.
Right.
Okay.
Are there other questions from the board? Any from the public? Mr. Walker?
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. If my memory is correct, we own that's up by Sandy Hills up there or something like that. And that is a depository for our old refuge from a previous storm. And we have sold off part of it already. And is this portion the portion that the city uses to get sand from when we need it? If it is, now will this be a 10-year program and we'll get the sand for almost free if that's the case? Because right now, we'd have to pay for that sand, which normally came to the city because we own that property. So I was just wondering if the property is that in question.
Mr. Jackie, no.
The answer to that question is no. The city used, especially these 20 acres of land back in the 1990s to dispose hurricane debris from Hurricane Opal. So the use of this property right now is very limited. There's really not a lot of sand left.
Thank you. Okay. Any other concerns or questions? Yes, Mr. Schultz.
Thank you, Bob Schultz, 509 Pennsylvania Avenue. Why are we selling the 20 acres for?
We really don't have any use for it.
5,000 an acre? That's not very much. Where? No.
That's not the
I mean, the
correct.
value.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Anyone else? Okay. There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commission? Ms. Gainer, would you please call the roll for approval?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender? Yes. Mayor Anderson?
Yes, stands approved. Thank you. At this point in time, before I adjourn the meeting, and of course, gifts to the city can never have any bearing on how a commission votes, but I was recognizing earlier some of the things that other people have done. Mr. Finch has given a new playground, $50,000 to the city. It's playground equipment, and $100,000 worth of beautiful, beautiful trees to the city. And I'm sure that's not the last thing he'll give. And as I've said probably before, I've known him a long time. His expectation was not a reward in exchange